Hey everyone, it's the Shawn. Welcome to another edition of the Influencer of Tomorrow show. This show is for you, the business leader, the business owner, the person that wants to make a bigger influence on tomorrow. We bring great guests to you in that mission. Jeff Bickerstaff is joining us today. He has an insurance company in Dallas. We talked to him a lot, and he's got a great philosophy on the attitude of an influencer. So we really want to dive into that today, get you some tips, tricks, ideas, little things you can do to up your game a little bit and really help you be a little more influential. Joining me as usual is my regular co-host, George Hendley. George is my speaking coach, a longtime guru in the speaking world. He studied all the books. He knows what to do to build your influence. And we've done this show as a way to reach out, help others, help business owners really develop that knowledge and expertise so they can think broader than just a single speech, broader than just a single campaign in their business marketing, but really think about how to build influence. So that's our goal today. I'm the Shawn. I'm a corporate lawyer by training. I help people with ownership and control of their business. So that's mergers, that's capital raise, partnership agreements, contract negotiations. All of that makes me think a lot about business planning and the future of business. And I think personal branding, being an influencer, are all critical to being successful in the future of business, which is where this show comes in. We'd love your comments. Don't know where you're watching, but you're probably watching on the Influencer of Tomorrow YouTube channel. Drop the comments below. We'll be responding to those. You might be watching us on one of our LinkedIn feeds. Go ahead and comment there. Or you might be at Shawn McBride Fans Always Facebook. Wherever you're at, drop comments. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're learning from the show, but also what challenges you have, what we can help you with in the future. And the quick reminder is we don't give investment advice. We don't give legal advice. We got an insurance guy today. We don't give financial advice or insurance advice. Everything here is just for your education. Consult your professional advisors. We just want to give you ideas about the future things you can do. So, Jeff, with that, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Shawn. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yes, this is always fun. Very excited about getting some of your knowledge and expertise. As we were corresponding before the show, we started talking a lot about the attitude of an influencer and what it's like to be an influencer. What does that mean to you?
Well, like I said, we talked before, and I think a lot of times people they forget the one rule that we have. I say one rule, but it's, the golden rule, treat others like you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. And it's such a lost art nowadays. I have always felt like that no matter what you're doing in my business or in my community involvement, if you just treat others the way you want to be treated, I think a lot of things take care of themselves. And it's just something that I think is just a good way to start with your clients.
I mean, I think that means a lot for your clients, and it means a lot when you're on stage, right? So let's take that to that level, because a lot of the people we work with, a lot of the people that watch the show are our fellow speakers. What does it mean when you're in front of a group or an audience or working with somebody? How do you bring that principle home? What does that mean to you?
Well, that's a great question. I think one of the first things I try to do is I try to let someone know who I am. Mm-hmm. And it's not, hey, here's my bio, but hey, how do I approach things? When customers contact me for the first time or for a referral or something like that, then I want them to know right up front how I approach things. And so what I try to do is I try to say, hey, we're not in this for us. We're in this to help you. Yep. And typically that's a good way to disarm them, because a lot of times clients will come in and they may be jaded for some reason. They may have had a bad experience with someone. They think the industry as a whole, you could take insurance, you could take any industry, and they're all a bunch of crooks.
Right.
All they want is, I just want, like in my business or any sales business, well, you just want the biggest commission you can get.
Sure.
And that's not our philosophy. Our philosophy is, look, we want to tell them up front that, hey, this is how we approach things. And, every now and then somebody will not really want that approach. It sounds crazy, but in the insurance business, sometimes people will come in and say, hey, I got this insurance policy with someone else, and then I just want a better price. And that's it. That's the only thing they're looking for.
Right.
And we tell them up front, we say, well, we definitely will try to help you, but if that's the only thing you're looking for, we're probably not the best agency to help you.
Yeah, well, you're bringing in a lot of themes of authenticity, right? I mean, you know who you are, you know what you do, and then you're blending that into how you work with folks.
Yeah, exactly right. Because let's face it, we've all bought a car,
mm-hmm.
And we've gone to the dealership. And back in the old days, I shouldn't say old days. I mean, it probably still happens now. is that, if you don't know somebody already, you have that relationship. You don't have that relationship with someone. You say, hey, I know this dealership sells this car, and so I'm going to go here. And then the first thing you get out of the parking lot and you can't even get into the door, and you have 4 or 5 people swarming you saying, hey, how can I help you? How can I help you?
Right. Yeah.
And that, for most people, and me included, that does not, I'm going to be turned off by that. I want to let me, as a customer, let me engage you first instead of me engaging you. Because when a customer walks in my door, I can't assume I know what they're going to want to talk about. Yeah. Or what their issue is. I just can't assume that. Hey, how can we help you? And then 99 times out of 100, they will tell you all you want to know and probably then some.
Well, more and more people too are vetting their suppliers beforehand, right? So we're in a different world. It's not just walk into a random insurance agency and say, hey, I want to buy some insurance. They've already done some research. They've talked to your customers. They've looked you up online. Right. It's really a different world that we're in right now.
It is, and that's where, and you bring up a good point, because your online presence is very important. We have these different generations that we deal with customer-wise. Everything from, we still got baby boomers out there, we still got Generation Xers, and the millennials, and everything in between. I can't even keep up with how many generations we have.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think there's a Z out there. I'm not sure, but yes, because if you don't have a good online presence, and that's the thing, because a lot of times people won't even come to you if they can't find out who you are ahead of time. They just won't even bother. Yep. And unfortunately, there's a lost art in getting to know someone face to face.
Yeah, George.
Yeah, I wanted to throw in. So Jeff, the show is about influencer of tomorrow, but I always kind of think in terms of, if you want to be an influencer of tomorrow, you got to start with today. And one of the big reasons I wanted you on the show originally was because you're not waiting till tomorrow.
Right.
You're out in the community, in your business, doing a variety of things that cause you to influence in a positive direction today. So what I want you to speak a little bit more about is, what was your deeper motivating factor to go into your insurance business, and especially into the world of community service via what you do in your community?
No, that's a great question, George. And, I like to talk about a lot of different things, so I appreciate you keeping me more on track there. Yes, the reason I wanted to do this, for years and years and years, I was in city government, and I do everything from a serve others standpoint. And so when I got out of the city government world, and I thought, okay, how can I still make a difference with my God-given knowledge and my God-given talents? And so I took city council, for example, as like, hey, I can serve many, many people if I pursue that route. And so that's really the only reason I ran for council back in 2013, was to have the ability to serve my community. Now, like you said, in a deeper sense, I knew, hopefully at the time I did that, I thought, okay, this is one step of the process. Once I get in and kind of get my feet wet, then, okay, this is going to lead to other opportunities that, quite frankly, at the time, I couldn't even have dreamt of.
Sure.
And, and that, to where the more people, because let's face it, your face is out there when you serve in a public, you're a public servant, you're a politician. Politician tends to be a dirty word nowadays, but I'm trying to change that. I want to be the different politician, I guess. But almost by default gives you an audience that you never would have had.
That's true.
And so that's a great opportunity to reach many, many more people.
You're
now,
right.
Here's the thing. People find out really fast, and especially in a public setting like that, people find out really fast who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are going to come after you. And I don't necessarily mean because of your political views, but just you may have an opinion on a certain issue that affects your city, and they may say, Jeff, you're wrong. I hate that. Why do you support that? And then, with social media, you'll see comments there too. That's the thing though. It's like, okay, but I can still reach other people, and it hopefully, influence them to say, hey, you know what? We're all in this together, and let's help each other. and then we can even reach more people. And so it's about serving others that got me going into that world.
Good. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the two play well together, right? So you're talking about making a difference in your community, just being a concerned citizen. You've obviously stepped up and taken a public role, and then that in turn fuels your ability to help others further down the line.
Exactly right. And so I'll give you an example. So being on city council has allowed me to develop relationships with other people and other entities. So as you can imagine, with the city, we have partnerships with the school district, with the county government, with the state government, that represent us. And so we have to work together, contrary to popular belief. We have to work together for the betterment of everybody. And so that has, in that position I have on city council, that has given me the ability to say, okay, I can go meet certain people on the school board. I can go talk to the superintendent. I can go talk to my local state rep in an official capacity, because that's, I'm a elected official there, elected official. And then you can reach even more people that way. And that's, the relationship domino effect, if you will, is endless. And that's what I love about it.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that, the relationship domino effect, what it's meant for you, what it's meant for your business?
That's a great question. And, I take a step back sometimes, and it's hard to realize sometimes how that works and how it's affected my business in a positive. So, like I said, you'll meet plenty of people, even at a city council meeting. You'll meet plenty of people that you've never met before and that you've seen all the time. Yeah. And as they get to know you, and this is what I think is key, you have to tell people who you are. And you don't necessarily do that always with words. It's your reaction to things. It's how you handle things. It's how you handle things behind the scenes, so to speak. But over time, people get to realize who you are and what you stand for. My mom and dad always told me that someone's true colors will always come out in the end.
In the end.
It might, not in the beginning and not in the middle sometimes.
Right.
But you'll know who somebody is. Now, it takes time to cultivate those relationships. When I first started in 2013, I didn't know anybody in quote unquote in that regard. But as another meeting goes on, another function goes on, it gave me the opportunity to say, hey, I have I forget which president it was. It wasn't FDR. Theodore Roosevelt, I think, was the first president that popularized the term bully pulpit.
Yeah.
And so you have a bully pulpit, which is not always negative, to go out there and say, hey, this is who I am and this is what I do. And people, by default, they'll say, hey, well, what's this guy do? Okay, well, he serves on the city council. Well, for some people, that will say, oh, okay, well, I don't know this guy, but maybe I better listen because he holds this position. Mm-hmm. Now, that's very key because, as you know, some people use that position and abuse that. And they say, hey, well, this is all about me, not someone else. I try to say, hey, if you just stop and listen, if you want to stop and listen to me because you don't know me because, hey, I hold this position, then that's great. That's my opportunity to be an influencer on you and tell you what I'm about.
Right. Well, I think you bring up an important point, too, about influence. And I think it's something George and I have alluded to here on the show a few times. Those of you who haven't seen it, go check out Influencer Tomorrow. But it takes a while to build it, and it's a kind of a compounding effect, right? And you're talking a lot about that right there, right? Is going to one city council meeting doesn't turn you into an influencer.
No,
multiple functions.
No, it does, because when you go to one city council meeting, but then you're as a city council person, you're invited to this function at the school district. Right. As the official rep, then you're invited to a state representative function. You're invited to the local Boy Scout function. I could go on and on and on. Chamber of Commerce, things like that. And again, it's another opportunity for people to get to know me, to know who I am. And then once they get to know you, guess what they start asking you? Or really once they get to know my position on whether it's council or whatever, yeah. Usually the first thing they ask me after that is, hey, what do you do for a living? Which is, for me, it's like, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of opens a lot of doors, right?
Opens a lot of doors. And it's the same process. It's, okay, well, this is what I do. But more importantly, this is why I do it. Most people, when they ask you what you do, you'll get the, hey, well, kind of the laundry list. Hey, I do this, I do this, I do this. And most people you won't really know why they do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's key because it gives me another opportunity to say, hey, this is why I do this, which I think is very important because with my business, I'm a risk advisor. So I'm looking at, if you're going to be a potential client of mine, I'm looking at, what your risks are or potentially.
George?
Yeah. Everything we do has an underlying motive. Everything. I mean, when you get hungry, your motive is, at that point in time, hunger, I'm going to feed myself. When you get tired, you go to bed because your motive is, I need the rest. So everything that we do has a motive, but it's not until we become a little bit more transparent and open and people search for some of these underlying motives that the true character of the individual comes out. And that is the critical piece in light of being the kind of influencer for tomorrow that is truly impactful for the long term. That's, again, why we need people like you, Jeff, on the city councils, in business, and able to tell people why you do what you do.
No, George, you make a great point because, again, that's most people either they don't want to get it or they do get it. They just don't want to expand on it. Because like I said, my best clients, and I know your best clients and Shawn, your best clients, are people that you've gotten to know over time. Mm-hmm. And I found out real fast in my business, and I'm sure it's true in a lot of businesses, is that the customer that you kind of get on day one may not turn out to be your best customer. But that one that
day one, and I want to break that down a little bit
sure.
so I can hear people. You don't even know who your best customer is on day one of business. Right?
That's right.
And as a speaker, you don't know who your best audience is on day
one. No.
So sorry, Jeff. I didn't mean to steal that from you, but I thought it was great for our audience.
Oh no, that's great because like I said, it takes a while to figure this out. But clients that weren't my clients initially that I was able to cultivate that relationship over time, boy, they come back to me and it's just they're begging you to do business with you because they know who you are, they know what you're about, they know that you have their best interest at heart, not yours. And it's just like an open vault. They say, hey, hey, I got friends too that you can help. It's
the old know you, like you, trust you. That's a great example of it right there.
Exactly right. And it didn't take me very long to figure out that, hey, when I first started this business, it was a brand new business for me. God put me on a different path than I was on. And it didn't take me very long to figure out, hey, you can try to do this like everybody else does it, or you can be yourself and, bring out that God-given talent that maybe was suppressed for me and say, hey, if you actually just tell people who you are and not be afraid to be vulnerable, if you will, because as we know, some of your clients are going to reject that.
That's true.
They're not going to want it. Well, I don't want you. I just want somebody who's going to give me, in my case, a lower premium.
Right.
And it's like, well, like I said in the beginning, I'm probably not going to be your best agent to do that.
Yeah. Well, you're talking to the guy that's wearing the weird coat because,
Well, I was going to reserve comment.
He's showing his true colors.
Well, yeah, and this emerged because for a long time I spoke and I told people to be different in business, right? And from that came do business differently. I don't talk about it on every episode. It's an underlying part of my message. Do business differently. Be unique and different, like exactly what you're talking about. But what's interesting is when I wear this suit and I walk through an airport, people will walk up to me and they'll walk up to me and say, hey, I'm weird too. And they'll just start talking to me. And I've gotten speaking engagements that way because people say, hey, I'm weird too, right? But it's so many people are hiding who they are, right, Jeff? I mean, they're just not expressing themselves.
No, you are absolutely correct. And I think it's a great point because most people are so terrified of letting people know who they are. Well, why are they terrified? It's because of potential criticism. They're afraid that someone's not going to like them, and let's face it, I don't care who you are, what you do, what your motivations are. There's going to be someone that doesn't like you. Now, hopefully there's going to be more people that like you and like what you do, but there's going to be people that are diametrically opposed to what you do.
Yep.
And that, especially when you first start opening yourself up, man, that hurts. I mean, it hurts.
Yep.
And then your initial instinct, if you're not really committed to doing that is, okay, you know what? I'm done. I tried it. Didn't work. And I'm out of here. I'm just going to go back to my computer. It's an old joke in life insurance. I'm going to be an actuarial. I'm just going to stay in my little cube and do all the numbers and not talk to anybody. But I think if you could just understand, I tell people this all the time. If you just if you just can accept that some people are just not going to like what you do, it's probably going to be the minority. Just move on, be true to yourself, know deep down that what you're doing is the right thing. And that's why, to me, it's easy. Well, I shouldn't say it like that, but it's just, it comes more natural to me once I kind of got past that. Because, again, God gave me some abilities and talents that I don't think he said, hey, well, you can use them or not. He said, no, you need to go use these. This is why I gave it to you. And he didn't say it was going to be easy, though. And so that's the thing is that, but that's why there's other people. There's people like George. There's people like yourself. George has helped me tremendously because he knows better than anybody that I like to go down rabbit trails. And I like to do this. I like to do that, but over time, he has helped me realize that, hey, look, I get excited. You can probably tell I get excited real easy. But if you just rein it back a little bit, focus, we had a good talk about that on our podcast last week, was that, hey, if you could focus and learn how to communicate, I know it sounds strange to some people, but if you can learn how to communicate and know your audience, you're going to be light years ahead of your competition, as they say.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I see the authenticity dripping through. You're very comfortable with who you are, and I know a lot of people will love that. Can you tell people how to find you, how to find your work, and get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, there's several ways you could find me. Like I said, I'm the owner of Bickerstaff Insurance and Financial Services. We're in Rockwall, Texas. Our address is 3084 North Goliad, Suite 120 there in Rockwall. Office number 972-771-4992. We have a Facebook page, Bickerstaff Insurance and Financial Services. But also, too, though, and I tell people, you can find me other ways, too, because obviously, as I mentioned in the beginning, I serve on the Saxony City Council. Just finished up my second term, fixing to start my third term. You can go to the City of Saxony webpage. You can find all that information for me there. And then also, too, as most people that know me very well, I'm certified storm spotter, do weather updates all the time. And you can find me on Facebook. If you just want to know about the weather, that's okay, too. However you want to be served, whether it's insurance, whether it's community involvement, whether it's the weather, just get a hold of me. I'll help you the best I can.
Fantastic. Folks, pat yourself on the back for doing the hard work, investing in yourself, thinking about the big issues. Jeff's given us some great takeaways. Jeff, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Everybody go to the Influencer of Tomorrow YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, ring the bell, share the episode with some friends that will benefit from it, and go check us out at influenceroftomorrow.com. Get some freebies from us, and you can also there subscribe to our email list, see our past episodes, see our upcoming episodes. So talk to you all soon. Jeff, thanks for joining us today.
Good job, Jeff.
Thank you for having me.